The San Diego real estate market is constantly changing. Right now, at the beginning of August, it's no different. Today, we're going to dive into real stories from people we have been working with over these past few months, give you guys some insight into what's actually happened in the market. A lot of our other videos are what's going on, like data, what's going on with inventory, what's going on with mortgage rates, which is all super important, and we'll continue making those. But this one is actually what's happening. So if you're a buyer or a seller out there, you're going to know what is actually happening right here in the San Diego real estate market. So let's get into it right now. And if you guys have seen our channel before, I always talk about Cassidy Lewis. That's who's on the screen right now. And he is our clientele specialist. He's going to dive into a few ones. Let's start with some clients we just helped over in North County area, coastal North County. And they were on the buyer side. So they are going to be selling their current place. They were buying another place. How'd that work out? So we're going to get into offers, all that kind of stuff. Tell the story of what actually happened in this case, get into price points a little bit, because as we always mention, especially those, the updates, the data, all that kind of stuff, it's all broad, right? Where it's usually San Diego County. We're not diving into a specific neighborhood. So it's for your specific situation, it's always different. So if you guys want to start that conversation, all of our info is below. But how about for those clients, how'd that kind of work out as far as competition, repairs? Are we still seeing offers with, inspections, or, how's all that going?
Yes, to answer that last question, we are still seeing offers with inspections, all the contingencies in place. In this case, we're looking kind of in the Encinitas Carlsbad area was what our clients were looking for, something that fed into Encinitas schools. So there's a big chunk of that Carlsbad 92009 that kind of feeds into Encinitas and San Diego schools.
And real quick, that's important too, because a lot of people don't
Yeah.
know that. Like a lot of on our relocation channel, when we're going through the map, we're like, not every city's, Encinitas, obviously going to Encinitas, but Carlsbad, certain other cities, like we just did a map style video breaking down like Oceanside, and some of that feeds into Vista. And so if you're
Yeah.
like specific on school districts, it's important to know these neighborhoods that actually feed to the ones that you want to be in.
Yeah, and even some parts of Vista have San Marcos School District. There's
Hmm.
there's always like little details, and we just had a webinar, whatever it was, a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
and we chatted with somebody that was on with us about 92009 is just complicated. There's
Hmm.
3 different school districts in the same zip code. You don't see that anywhere else, I don't think, in San Diego. Probably
Yeah.
not. It's definitely
There's
a
got to
rare
be
one.
other places, but yeah, it's
But I
unique for
mean,
sure.
yeah, you leave North County though, and it's a lot of San Diego City schools.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's you're only looking at one district for a lot of different cities down there. So
Yeah.
anyway, so specifically looking at that community, they were already homeowners. They owned a condo, so kind of their starter house. The next level up in North County, and or at least in this part of North County, is kind of in that 1.2 to 1.5 range. If you're looking for this, ended up being a duplex, kind of a little bit different than most of the stuff around it. Most of the stuff is single story or single family. I mean, detached. This ended up being kind of right around that 1.4 mark, to over 2,000 square feet. So a nice size house, big yard. It was worked out perfect for them. Ended up having 2 offers on it, both at list price. So both right around that. So competition was pretty much right there. And the sellers just picked our clients out of the 2 instead of countering, and it worked out great.
So that's
And the
it.
change.
That's interesting. That part too. Before it was like a lot of times we're getting 5, 10 offers. A
Mhm.
lot of pick the top 5 or whatever, counter highest and best.
Yep.
Now what we're seeing a lot more is sellers are figuring out what's that best offer is at front, because if you do
Yeah.
counter somebody, there's always a chance that they're gonna, you know,
Bounce. Yeah.
bounce, yeah, not be
Yeah,
there
and we'll talk
anymore. So
about that. Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But in this case too, I mean, we've been working it for 10 plus years in North County, not all of San Diego, but North County is a lot of our business, just because that's a lot of where our people are. And we had a really good relationship with the listing agent, so we had
yeah.
a little bit of kind of our one foot in the door already on that one, which just worked out great for our clients. And then once we got in the transaction, there were a couple items that came up during home inspection. Sellers, for the most part, are a little bit more willing to take care of repairs or give credits for repairs than they were, say, maybe 2 years ago, when there were 16, 15, 20 offers on some properties.
Yeah.
So a little bit more leniency there once you're into the transaction. For major items, I mean, they were not deal breaker items, but they were pretty big financial items.
Hmm.
But smooth. Our clients were super excited. Yeah, it worked out good.
Nice. So yeah, still a little competition, but not the
Yep.
frenzy that we've seen before. In that price point, we're seeing more competition in the next case that we'll get into here. Another set of buyers, then we'll tell you what's happened with some sellers that we're working with. But the competition is still there. It's not as aggressive. We're seeing some multiple offer situations, but once again, it's not the frenzy that we have
Mhm.
seen in the past. And now there
Yeah,
are
we're
certain
not.
situations where you
Yeah.
are getting multiple offers,
Mhm.
but it comes down to where is it priced, how's it in that neighborhood, all that kind of stuff. Next story is from a buyer that we are helping out right now in San Diego, and it's a little bit different price point, so it's a little bit different market. Price point we're talking about is right under that $900,000 mark. And while there is more inventory, there are more homes, but the handful of homes that we're helping them out with are usually getting a little bit of competition. One, we were working and went to go see it. And actually, this client, we're doing some virtual tours. So if you guys are watching this from elsewhere, we do offer that as well. Virtual tours, full house walkthrough. He was digging it. So, anyways, one house did have it was on the market for a little bit. Now there was a little bit of an issue with the city of San Diego, or sorry, the county of San Diego regarding permitting, and there's a whole long story. So partially this house was on the market for about 30 days. Then that was part of the reason why it had sat a little bit because they were working through that issue. Now which seems to happen not a lot, but a handful of times is where you get one offer in and suddenly, even if it's been on for 3, 4 weeks, then I don't know what it is. If it's in the air, it's just the universe, the real estate universe, but you seem to get other offers coming in as well. So that's what happened in this case. There were 2 other offers in there. Now they didn't go with our client, even though it was super strong offer. We were, just really good, clean offer, meaning, quick contingencies. We had all our ducks in a row as far as the lending front. Communication was good with the agent, all that kind of stuff. But one of the other offers, they were okay at taking a little bit bigger risk than our clients as far as that permitting issue. And so that was the deciding factor. It didn't necessarily come down to price because the price that actually got it was a little bit less, but it was because that they are willing to take that risk of, because kind of an unknown. Our client
Yeah.
wasn't willing, which is what we were coaching him. And as we are going through that process, like, here's the pros, here's the cons. I think in certain situations, pros outweigh the cons. Put your best foot forward. We could put certain parameters into the offer to protect you so that you don't get into a bad situation. And if it works
Mhm.
out, great. If not, then we go on to the next one, which Cassie is working on one right now. You want to dive into that one?
Yeah, and kind of a unique situation with this one too. The sellers priced the or the agent and the sellers priced the house really low, really aggressive. That first weekend, they got multiple offers. They were already 75,000 above list price. Definitely, that was their strategy. They went in thinking like we're gonna get multiple offers here. We're gonna drive this price up as high as we can, and that is still working. It's a little bit of a risk because it's not working everywhere pricing like that, but in this situation, just because of the price point, like being under a million, it definitely worked for them.
And one thing
Part
about the
of
risk too, before you go on,
Yeah.
is the risk being that you're not gonna get offers or you're not going to get the ultimate ideal price of what you were
Mhm.
wanting. Maybe you priced it a little bit under the market, hoping to
Right.
get multiple offers to drive it up. But ultimately, you as a seller, you're the one choosing the offer. So if an offer comes in and it's too low, you don't necessarily have to
Right.
even, counter. You don't have
Respond.
to do
Yeah.
anything. Yeah, you don't have to
Yeah.
respond. Just like, okay, well, we did this. This offer came in. I didn't like it. Let's wait till the
Yep.
next one. So,
Exactly. Yeah. And the other part of the or the other kind of caveat here is when you have all these people aggressively making offers above list price right off the bat, you also
mhm.
have some people get cold feet. So we saw this a lot like in well, I guess not as much in 2021, but like 2022, like when the market was still really hot, you did see people cancel because all of a sudden they're like, "Oh wow, we just wrote an offer 200,000 over list." We're a little bit more nervous about it now that we've kind of like taken a breath and like really thought about it.
Mhm.
And that happened in this case for these folks that got an escrow. So they ended up picking an offer, got an escrow, and now those people are sounds like it looks like backing out. So we are still seeing that a bit, especially when there's competition. Buyers just have a little bit more tendency to get nervous about it, especially if they stretched financially to get to that number.
Yeah, they get excited. They win the bidding
Yeah,
war. And
When, yeah.
then they're like, "Okay, now that we gotta make the decision, we actually" 'cause nothing really happens when you write the offer until you actually get your offer accepted. From that point, then you start sending in your earnest money deposit. You start scheduling inspections. You start going through the entire process where it's actually money out of pocket.
Mhm.
And, yeah, sometimes people are like, "Oh, shoot. I don't actually yeah, I'm stretching my budget. It was great to win, but I think we're gonna move on to something else." So,
Yeah.
happens happens quite often, actually.
Yeah, more it happens way more often when there's competition than when there's not. Because then when there's not, you have time to kind of take a breath. You can sleep on it, which is wild. Like, think about it, like, a couple extra days before you write an offer. So, most people, when there's no competition, are, like, all in going into it, where if there's a ton of competition, you have to rush, 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 and we see those fall out more often.
And next up, we're getting into the story of a seller, what's happening in that market. It's a little bit different price point. So, Cassie, jump into some sellers we're helping out right now and where we're sitting on that front.
The price point is, like, the key to all of this because we just talked about under $1,000,000 being still a pretty strong market for sellers
Yeah,
where
and real quick, sorry, I'm gonna cut you off again, but
yeah, yeah.
we just did get a comment on our last videos talking about the market and what was going on, and somebody said, and I was saying, it's a little softer, kind of in getting into a buyer's market, but with the
Mhm.
caveat being in certain price points.
Yeah,
And one of the comments was, "Yeah, I don't get how it's a buyer's market and soft when I'm overbidding on every house and not getting them." So
yeah.
there, you know, back to
It
price point.
is. Yeah, it is definitely price point. I mean, and that's the big thing. It's location, price point, and condition, which is what it always is for real estate. So right now we have a listing that's over $2 million. So a price point that where your buyer pool is already smaller than if you're under 1 million, or even at that 1.2 to 1.5 range. And we've been on the market since what, March?
Mhm.
Something around there. We brought it on at a time that wasn't great. We had uh, tariffs mentioned like the first week we were
It
on the
was that
market.
that
It's
first
it's
week. So, going back to that time frame too, the uncertainty in the market had a lot to do with this price point, and people who were potentially writing offers, like, we were getting action, we were getting, showings, we were
showings. Yeah.
actually potentially in talks to get offers, then this happened, and it just added a layer of uncertainty to the market of, "Shoot, what's happening with the stock market?" Because that's where
Yeah.
a
The
lot of
stock
people
market.
have their
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
What's happening with my job? What's happening with the economy as a whole, and all those
Hmm.
unknowns. I need to talk to my financial advisor, all that kind of stuff. It
Yeah.
definitely did slow down this market quite a bit during that time, and it's extended a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what we've seen. I mean, it's only kind of gotten softer since then. Like you said, we had a bunch of showings. We've had a couple price reductions, and then we have another flood of showings, and then all of a sudden, it gets quiet again. So just something to think about if you are thinking about selling at that higher price point. Pricing is maybe the most important part. Condition obviously is going to be huge too, but pricing, being a little bit more aggressive with the knowledge that you're probably not going to get multiple offers even if you price it aggressively, but you're going to get offers quicker at that. The price point is tough right now. It is. I
Mhm.
mean, people making a decision where they have to get a jumbo loan, or if they have to get a loan that's over $1 million, that's a tough pill to swallow for most people. So just something to keep in mind if you are thinking about selling.
And we're giving it's not just this home as well in this
Yeah.
price point, because 'cause we're tracking what's happening. Every week we send our sellers a seller's report. What's happening with the market? Was there any new competition? What's happening with showings, ads, feedback, all that kind of stuff. So, the full report, and keep an eye on what else is happening around as far as kind of the same product, same-ish price point, in the same area.
Hmm.
And some of those are, basically same story where they're sitting a little longer. We're seeing price reduction here and there. They're just longer market times. So it's not just this particular home. It's definitely just that market compared to,
Hmm.
yeah, the sub-million market. Definitely different things happening. And so if you guys are thinking about making a move and you want to start that conversation, we would love to earn your business. You can book a call right down below, or call, text, and email, because we got your back when making the move here in San Diego.